This video is sponsored by Carnivore Companion, but more on that later. Well, happy 4th of July to those in America. Obviously, Independence Day, and here that means grilling, cooking, eating all the excess food you could ever want to celebrate our independence from the British. If you're British, I don't hold any grudges against you. I'm not too well versed in history as it is, but I like to eat, so that's what I'm going to do. In this video, we're going to watch some older videos that I've done that I think would be perfect for any type of celebration, especially ones that involve cookouts and grilling and all that. So, and I will say, I know not everyone's going to have a smoker. I know not everyone's going to have a grill. If you want to make any of these recipes, adapt it to the best that you can. At least follow the instructions for the temperatures, and you'll probably get pretty close to whatever I've done, especially on the smoker stuff. I'm not going to hold you back any longer from watching these. And if you've seen these before, there will be little labels down below so you can kind of cut through what you do and don't want to watch. So if you want written recipes, there will be links to each of these videos down in the description. All right, y'all enjoy the video. Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. Well, I think I found what's going to be the hottest trend of the summer, which is the Glizzburger. What a Glizzburger is a hot dog stuffed with ground beef and then grilled. It's basically just a hamburger inside of a hot dog. If you followed the Vulgar Chef on Instagram, you'll know that this is his creation. I'm not recreating the wheel here, I just really wanted to try it, and then maybe throw a little twist on it as well. So, let's get started. I decided to use some giant all-beef hot dogs, or, Nathan's, as it is. Feel free to use whatever you want. Use turkey dogs for all I care. It doesn't matter, you're literally stuffing stuff into stuff. The idea is pretty simple. Take your hot dog, start about a ½ inch in, make a slice down, and stop a ½ inch at the end. You'll notice that it might be kind of hard to cut all the way through. Just make sure you go all the way through. Once you've got it where you can open it up and put meat in it, let's grab some meat. The next part of the idea is really just to stuff meat inside of the hot dog. I was able to get about 2 or 3 ounces in these hot dogs. You may be able to get more depending on which ones you have. But no matter how much you're able to put in there, just make sure you don't overstuff it because these will break. There's not much left on the end to keep them from breaking. Once you get all the meat in there, smooth it out, and then present it to whoever you're going to be cooking this for. Once you have that done, set it aside, and then continue to make as many as you want. I had about 8 ounces of ground beef, and was able to make 3 of these, and I also had enough left over to make a little tiny hamburger. Now, the hot dogs are quite salty, but the beef doesn't have any seasoning in it. I suggest you grab some salt and just season up both sides. Or whatever seasoning you want to, really, it doesn't matter. Once they're nice and seasoned up, you can bring these over to a grill or a pan or even throw them into an oven. But today, I'm going to be grilling these. I have my grill set to about medium-high heat, and I'm shooting for some nice grill marks. My biggest worry about these was going to flip them and the meat falling out, but it was a huge relief to flip the first one and all the meat still be intact and looking pretty good. Let all of these Glizzburgers cook on each side for about 5 or 6 minutes each side. It may take more or less time for you, just depending on how much meat is in between the hot dog. If you have massive hot dogs, number 1, good on you. Number 2, that means you probably have more meat in between, which means it's going to take more time. So if the instructions below don't make sense or aren't working for you, just cook it for a little longer. Now that these are done and they have a nice crosshatch like I was going for, I'm going to top them with some trash cheese because it is a burger after all. It's also fun just to watch things melt, so here's a little fast forward melting action for you. Now that they're done, let's give these a taste. I could have made a bun for this, but I kind of just wanted to taste it in its pure form. It looks like it cooked up pretty well, and I'm excited about it, so let's give it a taste. If you've ever had a hamburger and a hot dog, you know exactly what this tastes like. And just for the hell of it, let's give this trash cheese Glizzburger a taste too. Well, it's the same thing, but with cheese, which is just, it makes it a little bit better. But I think a sauce might make this a little bit better, so why not use the best sauce ever, A1 sauce. Just dump some on, and let's give it a shot. Oh yeah, that really elevated the Glizzburger experience, and I highly suggest you do it if you have some around. Now, I have another idea for this concept, so let's just get started with what I'm calling Glizzception. Here I have some hot dogs and a bratwurst. Slice your wieners down the middle and poop out your bratwurst meat from the casing. Feel free to save the casing for a chewy snack for later. Now, the idea is the exact same here. Just mush meat into meat and you'll have a meat. So, it's meat, right? Bring these over and show them off again, even though they look pretty similar to the Glizzburgers, and toss them on the grill. I won't bore you with the tiny details, so I'll just go ahead and tell you that these took about as long as the Glizzburgers to cook, so about 9 or 10 minutes. I only let mine cook for 7 or 8 minutes, and it wasn't quite done all the way, but I'm gonna eat it anyways, I don't care. Oh man, I thought you were on YouTube, but you somehow stumbled upon the updated Carnivore Companion website. New banner, new layout, new photos, and most of all, new sale. For the entire month of June, get single bottles for $9.99 each, or get the bundle for just $45.99. And if you didn't skip this ad, get an additional 15% off when you use the code MEATY4th at checkout. This sale is all month long, but the code ends midnight on the 6th. Y'all enjoy the rest of the video, and happy 4th. You didn't think I was going to leave out the mother of all smoked meats, did you? Of course not. Brisket is my favorite cut from any barbecue joint that offers it. The issue is that in Alabama, there are not many places that offer good brisket, which is why I'm thinking about opening a barbecue restaurant. If you're interested in that at all, leave a comment below. Brisket tends to have a lot of hard fat on it, so we need to trim it up a bit if yours is looking like mine. We need to rub those chunks down with a rub of sorts. I'm going to go with 3/4 cup of salt, some more of that Spice It onion powder, about 2 tablespoons worth, granulated garlic in the amount of 2 tablespoons, and about 1 tablespoon of black pepper. Give this a mix and sprinkle liberally all over this beast. This thing weighs about 12 pounds after trimming, so you're not going to overseason it. I promise. For the best results, let this sit for about 12 hours in the fridge to let some of that seasoning penetrate. After that time, it will have darkened a bit and stiffened up just a touch. Let's bring this out to our smoker, which is set to 225 degrees Fahrenheit, as usual. I'm going to be smoking this over a mix of hickory and applewood today. Let this smoke for about 6 hours or until an internal temperature of 165 Fahrenheit has been reached. Also added extra wood at the 3-hour mark to ensure it got enough smoke penetration. If you notice it drying out at all, you could spray it down with some beef broth, but since we let it sit in the seasoning overnight, we did not have that issue. It needs to finish cooking, and since we can't raise the temperature in the smoker, guess what we're going to do? That's right. Bring it inside and wrap it in parchment paper and foil to let it finish in the oven. The key to wrapping this is to make sure all of your parchment paper / foil is folded up to prevent any of these juices from leaking out. The juice this produced will allow it to braise. Once you've got your beef package fully sealed up, place it onto a pan and into your oven or smoker at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. This will take about another 6 to 7 hours, but we're just looking for an internal temperature of at least 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it's there, let it rest in its wrapper for another hour. And after that painful hour, we can finally slice into our brisket. There are going to be 2 parts to this brisket, the flat and the point. You can remove the point separately if you like, but I like to keep the point on top just for larger cuts of brisket. No matter what you do, make sure you're cutting against the grain. You'll know you're doing this if you pull out a piece like this and it looks like a little accordion. And oh my, this is decadent. Don't squeeze your brisket like I did. You want to retain those juices. I just needed some visual representation to show how sexy this thing is. And that's it. Slice it up and enjoy it just like this. Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. Back during Thanksgiving, I made a cornbread stuffing / dressing, and the beginning step was its cornbread. I just wanted to make a standalone video for it, and I was thinking of doing a roasted jalapeno and cheddar cornbread, but ended up going with a bacon and cheddar, just because it also sounded good. But please feel free to go ahead and try that roasted jalapeno and cheddar cornbread. Obviously, this isn't going to have the flavor of cornbread, but it definitely has the texture, which is just insane to me. Maybe you can add some corn extract for the flavor, but I'll let you make that decision. I had a hard time finding ground chicken, so I had to grind my own. I'm actually not complaining too much about this because I at least know what was in this ground chicken. Just chicken breast. If you're grinding your own, I suggest double grinding it. Whichever you choose, place 1 pound of ground chicken into a pan over medium-high heat and cook until no pink remains. Once done, set aside and pull out a blender cup. I added everything in layers by starting with 2 eggs, then my ground chicken, followed by 2 more eggs, then 6 ounces of ground pork rinds, then 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and finally the last 2 eggs. This is going to be super thick, so grab a half cup of water or chicken stock to help break this up if needed. You'll probably need at least half of it. Blend until homogeneous on low. I placed my mixture back into my already dirty pan that I cooked my chicken in to mix it up. I added in 4 strips of chopped up bacon and about 1 cup of sharp cheddar cheese. Take your damn dirty mitts and mix this together. Spin as long as it takes, but it'll take at least 3 minutes. Once done, grab a baking dish of some sort. I went with a 9-inch pie pan and then added in 1 tablespoon of ghee, but feel free to use butter. Use your disgusting hands to grease it up and then flop your chick cornbread into this and spread it out. Just make it as even as possible. Place this onto a baking sheet and into an oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 degrees Celsius for 40 to 50 minutes or until nice and golden brown. It's golden brown thanks to all the bacteria on those dirty hands of yours. JK, it's the oils from the ghee and cheese helping it all caramelized. Let it cool off for about 10 minutes before releasing from your pan and cutting it up. Feel free to keep yours in the pan and cut it up if you want. Either way, take a couple tablespoons of softened salted butter and smear it all over the top, and voila! It's amazing that it has the texture and crumble of cornbread. I'd say the chicken has a lot to do with this, and the pork rinds are just filler. However, I think you still need the pork rinds. If you try this without the pork rinds, comment below to let me know how it went. And now I'm going to take this first bite, which is for my Patreon community. If you're interested in joining, the link is down in the description below. You get videos a day early, and there's also a Discord server if you want to hop in and say hi. I'm not always on there, but feel free to communicate with the whole community. You can have the texture and crumble of this cornbread too if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. For pork belly with the skin on, you'll need your sharpest knife. My sharpest knife just happens to be this cleaver. Here's the pork belly. This one is about 3 pounds and is a little uneven. You don't have to trim yours if you don't want to. I don't mind having scraps though. Here's a little piece with pretty much no meat on it. Split this in half if you have a big portion. Cut slices into the skin at an angle. Then turn 180 degrees and slice again. My cleaver is pretty heavy, so I got some deeper slices than I wanted. It's okay though, it'll cook up just fine. Apply a little oil, salt, and pepper. Rub this in and repeat on all sides. Let this chill out while we get our second version ready. For the second, simple, yet a little more delicious version, you'll need some liquid aminos. Feel free to use soy sauce if you want to. I just had this available to me. You'll need about 1/4 cup of it. Along with that, add 1/4 cup of distilled vinegar. I wanted just Szechuan peppercorns for this, but I had to settle on this blend. In fact, feel free to use just black pepper or any other pepper blend. You'll need about 1 teaspoon. Same as before, make a crosshatch into the skin. Place your pork belly into a Ziploc bag and add your marinade. Remove as much air as possible and let chill in the fridge for a couple of hours. The cooking process is very simple. I place this onto an oven rack with a pan underneath to catch the drippings. I let this cook for 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour, and then turn the broiler to high for 5 minutes to crisp up the skin. Feel free to put this directly on a pan if you don't want an elaborate setup. For the marinated pork belly, remove from the marinade and pat dry. Follow the same steps as before. Here are the slabs of pork belly after cooling in the fridge for 1 hour. Cut off some thick slices for searing. To sear, place a pan over medium-high heat and press your pork belly into the pan for maximum coverage. You're pretty much just making bacon at this point. Some people like to cook their pork belly until it's falling apart, but I'd much rather enjoy it this way. It feels like I'm eating the fattiest pork chop in existence, and the sear just makes it that much better. I think no matter which one you choose, you'll be happy by having some super tasty pork belly and with very little effort. Hey there, how's it going? This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. Today, we'll be tackling something that I haven't thought too much about in a while, but the more I think about it, the more I wanted to try it. Today's recipe is mac and cheese. Let's begin this cheese and meat adventure. Alright, let's start by getting the topping out of the way. I've had a lot of people ask me how to grind down the pork rinds into powder, so here's how I do it. This is about 1 ounce by weight of plain pork rinds. I just throw it into a food processor and grind for about 30 seconds. I've never done this in a normal blender, so your mileage may vary. I imagine in a normal blender, you will have to scrape down the sides as it will get caught in the bottom and on the side. Okay, add this to a bowl and grind in some black pepper. Now shred in about 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. Give this a toss and set it to the side for later. Now for the mac portion, we'll take the same food processor and add 1 pound of ground chicken. Now crack in 2 eggs. Grind this for about 1 minute or until the texture is smooth. Now, grab a 1 gallon Ziploc bag and place it into a cup with the edges folded over it. I just happen to have a 6-pan nearby, so I'll use that instead. Scoop your chicken and egg mixture into this bag. Remove the excess air and seal. We will want to let this chill out in the refrigerator for about 10 to 15 minutes. During that time, we can get our cheese sauce ready. For the cheese sauce, we're going to need a double boiler setup. Place 1 cup of heavy cream into a heat-safe bowl. Once the cream is warm to the touch, slowly start to mix in 3 ounces by weight of shredded cheddar cheese. We want to do this slowly here because we do not want our cheese to separate. This is how we end up with a grainy sauce. After all the cheese is incorporated, you can optionally add 1/2 teaspoon of mustard. The mustard is a natural emulsifier and will help the sauce smooth out even more. Finally, season with salt and pepper to your taste. Set this aside while we begin to cook our gnocchi. Alright, let's talk nudes. Put a non-stick skillet over medium-high heat with about 4 cups of water in it, or until the pan is about 3/4 full. Add 3 tablespoons of salt to season the water. Alright, now you can pull your gnocchi dough out of the fridge and cut the corner of the bag. This is what's going to let you pipe out the noodles into the water. To do this, hold the top of the bag and apply even pressure downwards. This helps the mixture push out, and use a fork or a spoon to cut the dough. Cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes and flip once or twice to ensure all sides are cooked through. Pull from the water and let drain on a paper towel. Repeat this until you've used all of your dough. Alright, it's almost time to eat. Grab your bowl of cheese sauce and add your gnocchi nudes. Next, add about 2 tablespoons more of cheddar cheese so you can get a cheese pool later on when you're done cooking it. Fold this all together carefully so that you're not breaking up your noodles. Now, pour this all into your cooking vessel of choice. I used a small cast iron pan, but a baking dish will work here as well. Finally, top this with your breadcrumb mixture. Place this into an oven on high broil and broil for about 4 to 8 minutes while keeping an eye on it. We do not want it to burn. And there it is. Garnish with whatever you want. I went outside and found some wild scallions just for a little extra color and a little extra flavor. This was surprisingly delicious. The texture of the gnocchi is not at all what you think it's going to be. It's a little spongy, but it soaks up the sauce very well. If you like the video, please throw me a like, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing. If you want to follow along with my daily eating life, you can follow me on Instagram. Link is in the description. Until next time, stay beefy, my friends. Hey there, my meaty friends. This is Reed, aka CarnivorousChef. Jalapeno Poppers. One of the ultimate trash food, right? What if I told you we can make a trash food a carnivore person's treat? Well, that's what I'm telling you. I'm also telling you that if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, you'll receive 1 year of good luck. Gather around the campfire and prepare yourself for a story on how to make these tasty morsels. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to stuff jalapenos with ground beef and cream cheese and call it carnivore. I mean, I should, just because I'd love to read the comments about how it's not. Instead, I'll create the vessel to hold the cream cheese and a bit of jalapeno. Grab yourself an amount of foil and start balling them into the shape of halved jalapenos. Don't eat these as they'll be spicy on your teeth and nut your tongue when you bite into them. For our replacement protein jalapeno, place 1 pound of ground beef into a bowl. Season that with 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Give this a mix with your bare hands until homogeneous. Once mixed up, you're going to grab about 2 ounces of your seasoned meat and give it a gentle pressing. Drip this over your jalapeno mold and press in gently to shape around it. Pick it up, examine it. Mine was looking a bit girthy in spots, so I pulled a bit of the excess off. Once you've got all of these beefy pino molded, you can throw them into an oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 to 7 minutes or until firm to the touch. Side note, there's enough beef here to make 8 of these shells, so proceed with the second round if you want more. Next up, grab a food processor. I pulled out my old friend 1.5 cup mini food processor and added in about 6 ounces of cream cheese, and then follow that up with the star of the show, 1 jalapeno. If you do not want to consume jalapeno, that's totally understandable. Cream cheese and beef is awesome on its own, but if you do, process this until you get a light green and spicy cream cheese. Now we also have the predicament of fried versus bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. So I decided to do a few variants. If it's not obvious as to what to do next, have some strips of bacon ready and begin to fill your beefy pinos with your cream cheese. For your bacon wrap variations, just wrap it up the best you can. I do that by laying a strip down and folding it up. The other one we're doing will be a quote-unquote fried type, or normal, so these will just fill with cream cheese. While I try to hide my strip of snacking bacon for later, I'll let you know that you need to put these in the freezer for about 10 minutes just to let them firm up a little bit. While those are in the freezer, let's set up our standard breading station. Crack 2 eggs into a bowl and add in 1/4 cup of heavy cream, half and half, or milk. Whisk this until homogeneous. Grab yourself a plate and lay out about 3 ounces or 1 bag of ground pork rinds. I like to season mine with a little black pepper, but you can leave these plain if you want to. After your 10 minutes are up, it's time to get breading. Using a wet hand, we'll start with a bacon wrap popper and drop it down into our milk wash. Coat that evenly and let the excess drip off before placing it into your pork rinds. Coat this evenly again and set that into a parchment-like baking sheet with the rest of his friends. Next up, grab a plain Jane beefy cheese boy and repeat the process. It's like a perfect little package of flavor that Guy Fieri would be proud of to call gangster. Place this into an oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. The quote-unquote normal breaded ones take about 7 to 9 minutes to get crispy, and both of the bacon wrapped ones take about 15 to 17 minutes to get crispy. And they are done. Let's start off with the quote-unquote normal one. Crispy, creamy, beefy. Honestly, it's a great representation of a jalapeno popper. Next up, the bacon wrapped. Rich and chewy from the bacon. I dig it, but it's borderline too rich. Finally, the breaded bacon wrapped monstrosity. Again, rich and chewy, but the crunchy exterior helps you forget about how rich it is. All 3 of these were really tasty, but the winner in my book is the quote-unquote normal one. Try all 3 of these out and let me know what you think in the comments. See y'all next time. I feel like I'm making these tortillas every other day, but since it's a new recipe, here's the recap on how to make them. 3 ounces of pork rinds, 3 eggs, and 2.5 ounces of some sort of hard or high protein cheese. Smash all of these ingredients together, preferably in a food processor. Feel free to keep this in a bowl. Pull out a sheet tray and line it with some parchment paper. I'm still unsure if this is necessary, but grease up your parchment paper with about 1 teaspoon of butter. You can also use any other fat that you wish to use. Once you've buttered that up, slap down 6 equal-sized balls of your tortilla dough. Top this with another sheet of parchment paper and spread evenly. You can also use a rolling pin here if you want it to be very even. Remove this top parchment and throw this into an oven that's been set to 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 minutes or until these are a lovely golden brown. I think I like these a touch more with the cheddar than the mozzarella. They're a little more toasty but just as pliable. Now for the fun part. Place a 2-ounce ball of your ground beef into a pan that's set over medium-high heat. Sprinkle this with a pinch of salt. Place one of your tortillas on top of this. And press down until it becomes flat. If using a plate like I am, please be careful not to burn yourself or to break the plate. You don't need all of your strength to press a burger. I'll also link a burger press below. Let this cook for about 2 minutes before scraping this out of the pan and flipping. Let this cook for an additional minute after flipping. Feel free to add some trash cheese on top of this and serve. I can't take credit for this idea. I also have no idea who did it first. But damn, is it a good one. Fold these bad boys and dig in. Like I said earlier, I think I enjoyed the cheddar cheese in these tortillas more than the mozzarella. Something about how the cheddar toasts when it's cooked gives it a nearly real tortilla flavor. Look at it. See y'all next time. The biggest problem with smoked chicken is that it's usually dry. I'm going to try to mitigate that as much as possible with a brine. Get a bucket or container with 1 gallon of the freshest tap water you can find and add in 1 cup of salt. A lot of people say to heat the water while mixing the salt, but with just 2 to 3 minutes of whisking, you could see we have made a clear salt solution without heat. Now, it's time for the chicken to make its appearance. Remove it from its little body bag and let's trim it up a touch. There was a lot of excess neck here, so I cut that off. There was also an excess of butt flap, so I cut that off as well. Let's see if there's any goodies inside. Here, we can see the chicken penis. And this is the heart. The gizzards, I think. And finally, a big floppy liver. You can smoke all of these extras as well if you want, but I don't want, so I'll be giving these to the raccoons outside. Place the chicken into your bucket of brine. If it tries to float to the top, place a plate or a bowl on top of it to keep it submerged. Let this go for 4 hours or at least overnight for better results. Now that it's the next day, we could prep this bird for the smoker. I will be spatchcocking this chicken for a more even cook. This simply involves removing the spine so that it can lay flat. All you have to do is cut through the rib bones until you reach where the thigh attaches to the spine. Once you're there, find the joint and cut through it. After you have one side done, simply repeat the same steps on the other. You can use this portion to make some stock, so feel free to save this in the freezer or give it to those adorable little guys digging through your trash right now. We can flip our chicken over and press in the middle of the breastbone to flatten it out. Here I still have a good bit of that salt and pepper blend, but I want to add some extra flavors to it. I'll leave the full written recipe in the description below. A little garlic powder, a bit of onion powder, and finishing it up with a little smoked paprika. Toss this around and mix it, and then season both sides. It doesn't need a ton of seasoning since it was brine, but most of this is just to ensure the skin is also delicious. Okay, we could take this out to the smoker where I'll be using a 50-50 mix of mesquite and hickory to smoke this chicken. I'll be doing this at 225 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1.5 hours to get some good smoke. Since I can't adjust the temperature, I'm going to have to bring it inside and toss it into the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm shooting for an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit on the breast and 170 degrees Fahrenheit on the thigh. While that's cooking away, let's make a quick sour cream based white barbecue sauce. 1 cup sour cream, 1 tablespoon of horseradish, 1/4 teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of hot sauce, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar, and finally a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If you didn't catch all that, it will be written in the description below. Give this a whisk until homogeneous and give it a taste for anything missing. I went ahead and added another tablespoon of vinegar because I like that tang. Okay, the chicken should be ready. The oven was quite brutal on the skin, but that's okay. If you smoked yours to completion, you shouldn't have this problem. But it's not really a problem because it still looks and smells fucking delicious. Dump those juices over the top and split this baby in half. Slap that half bird on a plate and top it with some of your sauce for a presentation. Yeah, that wasn't the best idea. Just put the sauce on the side. Presentation be damned, this is awesome. The brine did its job and kept it from drying out. The smoke flavor is fantastic and that tang that the sauce provides is a nice complement to the dish. I want to start this recipe by saying that if you're on a strict diet, there's nothing wrong with following these steps with some nice beef bone broth and salt only. You don't have to have all these extra ingredients for a tasty outcome. Just letting all my carnivore folks know that I'm still thinking about you and I do love you. For this smoked barbacoa, we will be going through a fair amount of ingredients. And I'll start off with about 5 cloves of garlic. Simply smash them and get them finely chopped. Place this into a bowl and then we can move on to our chipotles and adobo sauce. To be honest, I enjoy the adobo sauce more than the chipotles themselves, but the peppers add a nice smoky flavor and a little heat. Feel free to strain the sauce from the peppers and use that only if you want to skip the bulk of the heat. For my recipe, I decided to go with 3 of the peppers with most of the sauce from the can. Give them the same smash and chop treatment like you did the garlic, and toss that into your bowl. Next up, we need a little lime. We want to extract as much juice and information as possible from this little guy, so we need to put some pressure on him. Where's the Joker hiding? Cut it in half and then squeeze it into the bowl. Go ahead and throw the whole lime carcass in as well. Now, these roasted green chilies are an optional ingredient in my opinion. However, they were sitting right next to the chipotles, and I couldn't resist grabbing them as well. Throw an entire 4-ounce jar into the slop bowl of delicious flavors. Now we need to spice it up with some cumin. About a half teaspoon should be enough. Some oregano leaves in the amount of a 1/4 teaspoon. Some spice it. onion powder in the amount of a half teaspoon, and finally some salt. Since I had this S&P blend left over from earlier, I use that, about a half teaspoon. The final step to finish off this zesty bowl is 2 cups of beef stock. I'm using watered down beef base here, which is just salty already. Give your mixture a taste for salt and adjust accordingly after adding your stock. I made a mistake by thinking that 5 bay leaves would be okay, but learn from me and go with about 2 instead. Give this a stir and set it aside. Now we can finally present the star of the show, 3.3 pounds of chuck roast. Give it the inaugural slap, and then we can start to break it down into smaller pieces. All we really need to do is cut this into manageable portions. After your beef is cut up, place a pan over medium-high heat. Since I'm using an aluminum pan, I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil to keep things from sticking. Now put the meat in the pan in small batches to keep it from steaming. All we're trying to do here is get some nice fond. Once you get some color on all sides like this, move it to some sort of heat-resistant dish. Repeat this until all of your meat is nicely brown and there's a substantial buildup of fond. Oh yeah, that's that good shit. Remember that sauce we made earlier? If you don't, please go get checked out by a physician. I'm worried about you. Pour the sauce into the pan and begin to scrape the bottom to release the fond. We also want this to come to a light simmer before pouring it on top of the beef. Now it's time to take this out to the old smoky boy. I'm going to be smoking this over hickory low and slow, or about 225 degrees for 2 hours. To ensure all of it is smoked well, I will be turning the meat inside the pan every 30 minutes. After 2 hours, it smells amazing and the sauce is light in color a bit. Now cover this with a piece of parchment paper and some foil, and then place it into an oven or back into your smoker at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 more minutes or until it's fall apart tender. And after patiently waiting, this is what we're left with. Some of my larger chunks weren't quite falling completely apart, and I was running out of time at the restaurant, so I shredded what I could and chopped the rest. And let me tell you, this shit is good enough to make some tacos with. Simply add about 2 ounces of sharp cheddar to a non-stick surface that's set to medium heat. You may have to coax it into a perfect circle. Place a small handful of your meat on half the cheese, and then fold it over. Let it cook with the meat inside for maybe 2 minutes in total, ensuring to flip it once. Now, I'm usually hypercritical about the food I cook, but this is one of those rare occasions where I know I hit the nail directly in its stupid head. These are rich, juicy, and packed with flavor from the smoke, garlic, spices, and chilies. I don't think anyone would be upset about these tacos ever. Smokestack. So smoky, you'd swear your house was on fire. Carnivore Companion. Turn ordinary meats into extraordinary feasts. Link below.